Scott Adu is recording the meeting this evening for personal reasons. Yeah, because she wants to. All right.
You're not recording.
Changes to agenda.
You should all have agenda marked revised number 2 at the bottom of it.
Okay,
Yes.
and public input. We have Pat Krebs' budget request. Is that what that says?
CCA. I'm just the one who shows up in the cold.
Okay.
We gave you the Campbelltown Community Alliance did turn something in June to make suggestions for the budget, and we know they're getting ready to finish the budget and vote on it in December. And based upon another meeting and discussion, we did revise it a bit. And in particular, we have recognized that not everybody realizes that there is no sidewalk on the east side of Palmyra Road between the alley and where you get to 322. This is a photograph I took many years ago. Kids struggled to get through that section, and that's why we made the argument that pleaded this meeting to see if we couldn't have a sidewalk on the township land on the west side. So that's our little pictorial thing. And the other reason I came to ask, bring this up tonight is I told you earlier that we're trying to do a video project of older folks who, older than me, who lived here as children or young people and have memories. And the video will take place on December the 11th. And young people will be doing the interviewing. And if you have any names of individuals you think I should reach out to between now and next week to see if they would like to participate, I'd appreciate them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Connie Brosman, Planning Commission.
Yes, I just wanted to know when you were planning on filling that position.
We were looking at, well, we didn't actually designate a time yet, but usually we do it in December when we make sure that we've sent out letters to those that are still serving and if they want to continue serving or not. So we should have that by December.
I mean, yeah, there is a position opening up in December, but there was one that somebody just resigned. So that was September, I believe. I'm just wondering when that position's going to get filled.
We're going to do them all in December as far as I'm aware.
Okay. So how many applicants do you have thus far?
I have yours and one other. Kendra Hoffman? Something other than the agenda? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a library representative, when you talked last month about rescinding for the sidewalks at Light Path, we were wondering what kind of a timeline you were, if this is going to be discussed in February, what kind of timeline? Because we have our budget already done for the whole year of 2020. Sure. We wouldn't have the money. But what kind of a timeline would you be looking at?
I don't know that we know. We have not discussed it as a board. So the first meeting that we're going to discuss it as the February workshop to just even talk about it. We haven't looked at plans. I mean, I haven't looked at plans. I don't know if either of you have yet. It was just something we decided we needed to talk about and look at.
Okay, and then would you be giving out specifications so that we would all be, the conformity of the sidewalks would be the same and so that we would know what we're only.
I would imagine.
Or whatever?
I would
Defer to Ritu, who has the answer.
I would imagine so. That would be something that we'd have to discuss, but I would imagine that's part of the saldo and what, I'm sure it's all laid out and spelled out, yes, but I can't imagine either, I don't want to speak for Jack and Bill really, but I can't imagine any of us are going to slap the library with without giving you time and planning if a
Just
sidewalk
starting
is.
to come out in the black rather than the red after so
Right.
many years, and it's like,
Yes.
okay, and now we're a corner lot there. It's not going to just be a little sidewalk, so we were just, so that we're prepared.
Yes, and I don't think any of us would sit here and be unreasonable with that. We wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. I can't
Wouldn't with the
imagine.
library or any other business in there, quite frankly. I mean, open conversation.
Yeah, I think we're at the beginning of, really at the beginning of looking at this. So,
We would just appreciate lots of notice. So that we can look
Did you want to chime in on any of that?
No, I mean, when we've been involved in projects like this where there's multiple landowners involved, we typically get a consensus among the board, and then it's really nice to have a workshop meeting with the landowners to present it, and so they can ask their questions and kind of get everybody up to the same speed. And some sort of a schedule that's amenable across the board. I mean, this has been, in this case, they've been delayed for quite a few years. I don't think the board is going to expect everyone to put them in 2 or 3 weeks from when you say, we're going to put these sidewalks in.
That was another thing. Chelsea was just wondering if there were a meeting, would she be able to attend?
Absolutely, yes. And I'll make sure that we reach out to her. It will be, you can tell her now, I mean, it is planned February workshop meeting is when we'll have that discussion. But
Okay.
that, or I can send an email to her too, either way.
Thank
Or
you.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, so that we have everybody in preps for that, I'm sure we'll send it out to all the landowners so that they can come and sit and we can discuss what best option to take. Yep. Randy, something on I have you on here, but that's for the agenda? Randy, right?
That's on the agenda.
Yeah, okay, no, that's okay. Oh, you didn't check yes or no? I just was seeing comments over here, sorry. Yeah, all right, good, then we'll move on. Any other public input that I missed? No? All right, let's move on to the Board of Supervisor meeting minutes from October 8th. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And meeting minutes from the workshop, October 23rd. All those in favor? I'm sorry.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Bill and payroll list 2019. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And bill and payroll list 2119. All those, I keep
So
doing that. Motion. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jenna, did you get all those? Sorry,
I did, yep.
okay.
I got it.
Moving fast.
Yep.
Township manager report.
Yes, there is a slight issue with our website. I have tried to place previous minutes on the website from 2014 on. And now when I try to place any new information, it's not letting me. So if anybody has anything they want from the 2014, 15, or 16 year that they want to download it, I'll give you a week to do so, otherwise I have to take that off so I can place new items on the website.
Are we just out of space? Is there only so much that it will handle?
Yeah, it's like a $300 a year website that you get
So many?
governmental used, and I think there's just too much information on there.
Okay.
I don't know how many times I tried to do it, and I put it on door, I put it there, it's there, but it just would not link. So once, I'll give it about a week, and then I'll start loading, taking those off, and then loading on the new ones.
Okay, thank you. Zoning officer, Dawn, do you have a report for us?
I do. I issued 22 zoning permits last month, which was my biggest month of the year. Denied 2. And had 11 building permits, 3 burn permits, 8 complaints, another illicit discharge, mostly stormwater complaints, and 1 clear site triangle. East Down stormwater modification is still ongoing. They didn't start the work yet, but the engineer did approve the new plan. Zoning hearing board on Thursday for a detached garage wants to put an addition onto his house, which is going to attach the house to the garage. And it won't meet the side yard setback. They're still reviewing zoning with the planning commission.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dawn? All right, moving on.
I have a, yeah,
Oh.
are you happy with the pace of the planning commission on reviewing the zoning?
It's very slow so far.
Okay.
They're going into the 3rd zone.
Right,
Right.
it's taking a while.
I think
Right,
this one will go faster.
okay. I mean, I'm on planning commission, so I'm kind of critiquing myself here at the same time, but I was just curious.
I was surprised at how long it took the last one.
Thank you.
Okay, Patrick?
Thank you. There's nothing listed under my report. I do have an executive session item to discuss with respect to personnel litigation. And then there are other items on the agenda that I'll have comments on as well.
And we're meeting after the meeting for that exec meeting?
Yes, correct. That's my understanding.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure we publicly announced that. Chief, do you have a report for us this
Yes.
evening?
During the month of October, officers reported on 250 incidents, made 3 criminal arrests, which included 1 DUI arrest, issued 29 traffic citations, many of them during aggressive driver enforcement, which is going on from now till the 17th of November. Also issued 1 non-traffic citation for false alarm to public safety and 25 traffic warnings. The only other things I have are trick or treat went well, probably a little fewer people due to the rain out. But we had 4 officers out and talking to people. And I did get a response from PennDOT regarding Mine Road. They do intend to do engineering and traffic studies based on the letter I sent them requesting that. They didn't give a timeline, but.
It said 30 days. I was shocked.
Oh,
It said,
they did
please,
give a timeline.
please allow up to 30 days for completion.
Wow, maybe it's done. That's all I know.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Chief? Okay. Moving on. Scott, do you have a report for us tonight?
Yeah, I'd just like to take a moment to recognize Brian Backert for an outstanding job filling in for Highway Foreman Bill Drell during his extended absence. We were extremely pleased with Brian's performance leading the highway crew through their day-to-day operations.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you. Kendra, do you have your report for library?
Yes, the library board met on October 15th and will meet again this month on the 19th. The library raised funds through Palmyra's Great Give. Through donation containers and online giving, the library raised $1,125. The annual fund drive will get underway this week. Mailers will be sent out to township residents. We hope everyone will give generously. A wine and cheese thank you event in October was held for library donors. It was unveiled that evening that the library building will be named for Dr. Kitty Hand, who founded the Palmyra Public Library. Frank Ryan was also on hand to give Dr. Hand a citation. Library visitors and library circulation were both up in September 2019 as compared to September 2018. The library will once again have ornaments that people can sponsor for the library's Christmas tree. The ornaments are $10 each and can be placed in honor of or in memory of someone. The ornaments will then be theirs to keep after Christmas. The library is also once again having periodical sponsorship opportunities. Paper ornaments will be displayed on the Christmas tree with the title and the cost of a library periodical, which is a magazine or a newspaper, and individuals can select a periodical to sponsor, and the sponsorship will be acknowledged on a poster that will be hung in this section during the year 2020, and also will be advertised on the website. That's it.
All right, thank you. I don't see anyone from Campbelltown Fire Company. No one's hiding in the back. Okay. Lon?
16 calls for the month, 11 here at South Londonderry, 1 to the borough of Palmyra, 3 to South Danville, 1 up to Derry. We had 4 tree and wire incidents, 2 automatic fire alarms, 3 structure fires, 2 miscellaneous, and 5 motor vehicle accidents.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Law and Fire Company? All right. Moving on here. Bill, do you have a report from Parks and Recs?
Yeah, I think the big news is there's a proposed amendment to the Constitution of the Park and Recs to expand the board to 9 voting members. So, yeah, adding 1 from each governing body. So,
Something that prompted that.
you know, that's I think it was something that the school board had a question about,
They
or
have,
related to they already have
they have two, right?
Yeah, so it would really give us two in North Londonderry two as well, it looks like, and I
We
have to
already
give.
have two, don't we? Isn't each,
Resident and a supervisor.
yeah.
Right, yeah, so I have to look at, I mean, we have to dig a little deeper into this because it's coming up in the next voting meeting, so.
Which is in this,
November,
okay,
yes, which is coming up.
yeah, okay. Anything else?
Approve the budget, so.
Okay,
I understand.
all right. Any questions on Parks, Area and Rec for Bill? All right, and minutes for review. I didn't have any in my packet.
There was no planning commission, historical commission, I don't believe I received, and there was no fire board, municipal authority. I did not bring your packet, I'll email it to you.
Okay. And Fire Board, the last two times they met, did not have a quorum, so. All right, moving on, township officials. I just wanted to say congratulations to Bill Bova for winning. He will now be our supervisor for the next 6-year term. And also Dawn Blauk for winning Recorder of Deeds. Congratulations to both of you guys.
Thank you.
Did you have anything?
I feel two ways about the Dawn thing because we will have to replace her.
Yes.
So,
Jack, do you have anything?
but,
Okay.
I mean, just a thank you to everybody. Appreciate the confidence.
Okay. Thank you for serving. All right, moving on to in the net turf field dome stormwater plan. Randy, do you want to take over?
Briefly. Everyone knows we're putting the dome over the artificial turf field. I think we've been here a few times.
Uh-huh.
We do have a letter from your engineer dated November 4th that reflects the latest plan that was prepared. I have a copy with me if you would like to look at it, but it's basically storm sewer pipes and trenches around the artificial turf field to handle the runoff.
Okay.
And there's several modifications we have asked for there. I have been in touch with Jim's office. One or two very minor comments, number coordinations on the plan to make between the plan and the report. But I think Jim agrees the plan's in pretty good shape. We also have a improvement guarantee amount approved, just under $204,000 for the improvements. So with that as a very brief recap, I guess we would ask for approval of the stormwater management plan, subject to your engineer's letter of November 4th, and also subject to the stormwater operation and maintenance agreement that I believe Patrick will develop.
Yeah, I already have, after I got your email a few weeks back, I did prepare a draft agreement. I've just been holding on it because I was waiting for the actual cost estimate. So the $203,823.95, that's the correct
That's a good number.
approved amount?
That is correct.
Okay. And I'm just realizing, because your review letter of November 4th referenced some corrections, and then I just saw that this cost estimate, it's dated 10/29, but it's revised November 6th. So this is the current one, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I suspect it's revised pursuant to the comments from
that's
that.
correct.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Patrick, that you have questions on?
No, like I said, the stormwater management agreement, I just needed the cost estimate to plug in for the financial securities. It does look like they're requesting modifications and waivers or deferments in their review letter, so I don't know if Ritu had any comments or concerns with respect to those.
We do not.
Must we do each one individually?
It's a stormwater management plan. I think if you
Can
just
we just
refer to, if you want to approve the plan and requested revisions in accordance with the November 4th, 2019 review letter from Ritu and Associates, I think that's appropriate.
Do we need to make a note on there that it's a November 6th revision?
Well, the November 6th revision is to their cost estimate.
Okay.
I think the November 4th is the true date for the review.
For the letter,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion? from someone.
I would motion to approve based on the conditions set forth in the two letter dated November 4th, 2019.
Second.
Do I have any questions from anyone? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will get you the stormwater agreement probably tomorrow with the cost estimate.
It's way too easy.
Okay, moving on now to Carriage Park Phase 3. Jenna, do you want to report on this for me?
Yes, in your packet, you received the title search that was completed. Looks like the title it came back clear. There is a mortgage being held on the property, but I'm assuming you'll be taking care of them.
Yeah, the mortgage, I mean, we're not getting title insurance, but the mortgage, I would suspect, we could request proof of the payoff. I suspect they've done that already. They've sold, if not all of those lots, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Any
yeah,
other?
That's the one thing that stood out to me. I mean, without doing, there is a declaration of restrictions and covenants that was probably associated with the original land development plan. But the other comments are from Med Ed, Bell Telephone, Verizon. It doesn't look like there's any tax liens, no judgments, nothing that jumps out with a red flag to me. It's just the mortgage, really. We want to make sure that that's been satisfied.
Okay, so can we move forward on this then? Must we?
Yeah, I mean, you've already conditionally approved accepting the roads and the open
Right.
space. This was just kind of like one of those hang-up things.
Mhm.
I can reach out, if the board's on board, I can reach out to Mr. DeSantos and let him know, hey, let us know that there's proof of the mortgage being paid, and we'll file all the acceptance resolution as well, the deed of dedications with respect to that property.
Okay, and we can close that out then.
Right.
All right. So we don't need to make any action on this at this point?
No, the board already approved it. Conditional.
We're all set to maintain the roads there this winter, right?
Yeah, that regardless of this, I think everyone understood that you're gonna be
Yeah.
on one of those roads. This winter. Yeah.
Okay.
Glad we had this meeting before it snowed.
No, I think we all understood. I don't think the applicant had any intention
Of plowing again? No,
Yeah.
probably not. Yeah, let's put that one to
So we're
bed.
asking for proof of the mortgage.
Yeah, I'll reach out to
Okay.
Mr. DeSantos and I'll let him know.
Okay.
He'll probably send you something pretty quick.
I just want to put something in the minutes.
I'm sure, yeah, he's probably ready to be done with that too.
You think?
Okay, so moving on to the Query Financial Security Escrow Release. This project is done. They had money set aside, but this is all satisfied at this point, correct, Jenna?
Correct.
Do I?
Was there work done between the two inspections? Because there's no date. The initial
Yes,
inspection
there
indicates that
was.
the spillway is incorrect.
No, we were out on the 3rd.
Okay.
Verify everything is complete.
So everything is complete.
Everything was in good shape. Actually visited the site after a storm and the basin had infiltrated as designed. No standing water, which is always a good thing.
Motion to approve the release of the security.
Second.
Do I have any questions on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Campbelltown Community Alliance tree donation and tree lighting. Jenna, do you have something?
I just
on-
wanted to, maybe the tax can say it better than, but the tree was donated by the Campbelltown Community Alliance and planted in the park with the help of the road crew. And there is a tree lighting ceremony, Pat, whatever you said, December 1st, between 5 and 7. And wanted to know if I can place that on the website.
Okay, as long as we have space.
Oh,
That's the other issue.
Are you okay with that?
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I mean,
You were gonna comment, go ahead.
yeah, I just want to thank the folks involved, so, including our people that took time to plant the tree.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on that? Okay. Moving on, manager resignation. I'm gonna make a motion that we table that until Thursday for our we have a workshop for a budget meeting. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, questions? Yes?
I don't understand, why do you table resignation? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, we are gonna have a discussion after the meeting in exec, and then we'll hopefully have an answer and a resignation and or not on Thursday. It's the best I can explain it at this point.
Will there be some transparency about it at some other point, or I don't understand what the issue is if there's a resignation?
There is an issue, that's why I wanna table it at this point.
Will we be told about it on Thursday?
You'll have a decision as to what will happen, yes, on Thursday.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to zoning code enforcement officer resignation. We received a letter from Dawn. Would you like me to read it out loud? No? Yes? Okay. She is resigning. Her last day will be December 27th, and we did receive a letter for that. We wish you the best of luck in your new position. And we have a posted job opening. It's on the website, and it was also put in the Sun, Jenna? No,
No, that one was just placed on PennLive
PennLive.
and our website.
Okay. All right.
I just have one thing to say about that, actually. I think the fact that Dawn did so well in a election, especially around here, speaks volumes when you're serving as the code enforcement officer. And I do think you're very customer oriented, and you consider the people of this township customers. And you enforce, but you also try to guide them in the best possible way. And I think that's what government should be accessible to the people, and the people should never feel nervous or scared to come see their government at work, and I really appreciate that, and I hope we can find someone that treats people the same way.
You're going to be a hard act to follow for that. Telling people that they can't do something and you still have them smiling at the end is very impressive.
And voting for you.
So, thank you. MS4 project discussion. So that's kind of wrapped up with the lingo thing, but do you have anything to tell us?
So there was a meeting with PennDOT, and they've got as far as selecting a consultant for the project.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no design work on the project, and the portion of the project that satisfies your pollution reduction plan, which is to be completed by 2023, if left in the PennDOT project, is not going to get done by the deadline. So there's a couple of options. One is to ask DEP for a time extension because you're working with PennDOT. However, that's going to put two projects in your next permit cycle to deal with. Now, if PennDOT continues to manage and administer that and you get the benefit of it, all the better. But that's under the rules that we're working under today.
Yeah.
And anyone that's followed the MS4 program knows that the guidelines have been anything but consistent. The changes have slowed down recently. It's not as back and forth as what it has been. But I can't tell you what the requirements are going to be in the next permit round. Option 2 would be for the township to pursue the stream restoration program on its own. Take the Lingle Avenue correction out and let PennDOT deal with that. The funding comes into play for that portion of the project. There is funding available. DEP just opened up another round of Growing Greener grants, that if the township wanted to consider its options, we could put an application in for that. I mean, it's a great project, and it meets the criteria for a Growing Greener grant. Whether
What
it's
does?
The realignment of the stream
Lingle.
restoration program. Not Lingle Avenue
Not
itself,
Lingle,
not
but
the
the
stream,
actual
but
stream.
the
Stream.
stream itself. Third option being to see what other projects we have, you know, a meeting at the staff level with Scott, with Jenna, that we can substitute for the Lingle Avenue project and push that to the next permit round, where we would include that project to meet your MS4 or a portion of your MS4 requirements to stay up the ante in the next permit round. So there's some options out there.
So if we applied for Growing Greener and we got it, how would that impact does it have a potential impact to the Lingo project?
Sure.
That's right.
It's, anything that's done there in terms of stream restoration is gonna have a positive impact on Lingle Avenue. Without PennDOT raising the road or some elevation of the roadway, is it gonna solve it? No. Is it gonna flood as frequently? Probably not. How much more runoff would be able to pass through the area without impacting Lingle Avenue? I wouldn't want to sit here and even venture a guess at that tonight. But there will be additional capacity for runoff in the stream corridor, so it's not going to overbank and flood Lingle Avenue as quick as what it does today.
What would be the cost of 10% sediment reduction, and what is the Growing Greener? How much do they?
I would want to pull in for, I think this round is limited at 200,000. So if that's something you're interested, I can work with Kara. This is her bailiwick.
Yeah.
To put a quick report, shoot out to you guys to take a look at. Have your budget meeting on Thursday. You can potentially take some action at that meeting. Give us some direction. Or, we can pick it up at the next board meeting. It's not that it's dire, but.
It's my own opinion. I think it's at least worth looking at, cursory looking at.
My concern with PennDOT taking over the project from when PennDOT originally announced that they were going to take it in-house was that they were going to focus more on Lingle Avenue and less on the stream restoration. Whereas,
Jim, they even alluded at the meeting that Jack and Scott and I were at with number 2 also, was that they did do a stream bed realignment and it did not go so well. I guess who they subcontracted out with did not do what they said they were going to do in the scope, so that PennDOT was afraid to work or, to be the permitter or the permittee for that project,
right.
Moving the stream. Now they, alluded that they weren't sure how PennDOT was going to perceive them applying again, like, well, you really messed that project up, now what are we going to do, kind of attitude. So if it's something that the township takes the rein on the stream bed restoration and then just have PennDOT focus on that,
Right.
could be.
You'll get a better project if you drive the stream project. PennDOT's in the roof business, and that's what they focus on, and that's where their emphasis is, and that's not wrong, that's where it should be. You'll get a better MS4 project if you're calling the shots.
Sure.
There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Well, after the report from the last meeting, I not very confident that.
It was frustrating to say the absolute least.
We had a great project lined up, we had the funding lined up through the MPO to do the work, and then
The one guy from PennDOT, honestly stopped just short of telling us that we should be out there selling subs to pay for this. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
so, if it's something that the board is interested in, we can explore some funding options, put a quick report together back to you, here's some options available, here's programs, matches, deadlines, etc.
And are we looking at the section that the township owns for the sewer plant,
I
or are
think
we looking at the part where the Hershey Trust
No,
is?
I think it was specifically the Hershey Trust property down to the township line was
Right.
the original scope of what we
Right.
submitted for that grant for the $2.5 million. Now that included the road being raised in that project, but we would not have that portion of it in ours.
We can also relook at the scope and say, all right, well, here's, this much stream will give you your
10% reduction.
reduction requirement under this permit term. But you also want to make sure the beginning and the ending is a good start and stopping point. So maybe you end up going a few feet further because it makes a better project. It's a reasonable place to start and stop a project if you follow it. So that if you pick it up and move it down the road later, it's at a good jumping off point.
What are the chances of PennDOT then coming in and saying, oh, we're gonna move the stream? Then what happens?
I was not at
I
the
was not
meeting,
very
but
confident.
no, I mean, what Mike reported back was, don't put much, don't put this in the paper, but
What was your name? No.
Marley
Spell that
Farnsworth.
last name for me.
PennDOT's focus is the roadway, plain and simple.
I think that's the best way to say it. I agree with that.
Okay.
That's their priority.
We had a pretty extensive conversation though at the meeting about how the stream relates to the duration of the flooding on Lingle Avenue. And I don't think even the stream restoration is not gonna change. I mean, it will in some sense, because the water will get off the road a little faster, but I don't think that the general motoring public is going to see a drastic improvement in that. I would be very skeptical to proceed with anything in that direct area. I mean, yeah, on the township, the sewer authority property, whomever, okay, but I think we should stay away from that. If that comes to fruition, whether it, in the next cycle, whether it comes as part of that project or whether we make it part of that project, I think that's probably the best route. But either way, I think those two pieces of that puzzle belong together. You know, engineering for one relates to the other, and I'd hate to see us do the restoration work and PennDOT come in and, oh, well, if you'd have held that bank up, you know, another 18 inches, we could have done this and could have done that. Whereas if because it's gonna be so complex there with the wall, the stone house, the property owner downstream, I think we just stay away from that. Let those chips fall where they may.
Which leads us back to the other listed, we had a list going at some point.
I think we should pursue those. That's my
If
personal-
I'm remembering correctly, most of them were private properties.
They were.
Like I said, the area in the sewer plant there in the Campbelltown West plant, you know, that, I mean, I think we're far, in my opinion, we're far enough away there.
Right.
I couldn't fathom any tie between, you know, I don't think anything we could do was gonna change, you know, that downstream. I'm
Was
talking
that even on our list though?
the stuff that's on
I
the,
don't believe it. Well, Spring Creek is, I don't know where.
I don't remember where the upstream reach is. I mean, again, if it's a stream bank stabilization, that is a high value, high sediment reduction project. You can, depending on how you attack it, the permitting can be relatively easy if we're not getting in, you know, going crazy doing full-blown floodplain restoration. We're not doing H&H studies. If we're straight up stream bank stabilization, some riparian buffer type work, that's easy to permit, relatively inexpensive from a construction standpoint, and a fairly good return on your investment for meeting your sediment reductions. But I would look at doing on property that you own, how much can you get out of it?
Yeah.
get out of that what we can.
Yep.
And then secondly, even though the trust has indicated their willingness to assist, I still think, you know, if we find a willing private property owner, I think, you know, dealing with an individual is going to be far quicker than dealing with the trust, because it's not.
One entity might be easier to negotiate an agreement.
Well, yeah, I
with
mean,
than a
you know,
trust.
we get a private, we're talking to husband and wife or
Yep.
whatever, there's, you know, talking about at the kitchen table, you take it to the trust, they got board and people to answer, and so I think we pursue other projects, and, you know, maybe that still comes to fruition in the next, either way, it's not going to help us in this permit cycle anyhow, unless we ask for an extension, and I think as you indicated that, I don't know that that would be the greatest.
And that's just in my mind, that's kicking the can down the road, and it's more to deal with at some point.
Sure.
And quite frankly, in the conversations that we had there, there's $6 million available in funding for that Lingle Avenue project. And even though that one of the gentlemen from PennDOT indicated that we should be applying for every grant under the sun, and I said, hold on a minute, we had a $2.5 million estimate for this, and you're telling me there's $6 million worth of funding. Why are we still looking for additional funding? And he said, well, these projects grow. I said, I know personal projects do, hobbies, everything grows, but 2.5, and I said this even in the meeting, 6 minus 2.5, $3.5 million, it's gonna grow, $3.5 million.
Well, they changed the scope from Cherry down to.
Yeah, so that, but even,
Palmyra Road,
and
yeah.
even when he said that, I said,
Yeah.
even still, so it's gonna cost $3.5 million, you're not increasing any of the right of way, they're not increasing the lane width. I said, I just have a hard time
Adding
believing.
the 2-foot shoulders on each side.
And, I mean, up until that point,
Yeah.
till Jenna actually brought it up, like, wait a minute, at the last meeting we were at, this project, the funding was already available. And we asked numerous times in that meeting, like, okay, so is it or isn't it? So it got to the point in the last meeting of Penn, I said, okay, so you're telling me that $6 million in funding is available if this was a shovel-ready project today, not we're relying on, the next round of funding or the next, but no, it's set aside. So, I mean, I left there again with the impression that
It's fully funded.
the project
but
is
they're
funded
still
and nothing else
asking the
is
township.
going into that tip and tap fund or project list until it's ready to go, but frustrating to say
Our
the
NPO
least.
said the money's there, it's ours, Palmyra sat there, Palmyra Borough and North, and they said it's their turn, they've had their projects done and they're waiting for us to finish this. They can't do anything else
Yeah,
until
they're-
this project is finished.
They're waiting for us.
No.
No,
But they're waiting for
I
this
know.
before they
the
take.
assistant
I know.
borough manager actually spoke up because, like I said, I mean, the guy from PennDOT was like, you have got to get together as a team and apply for these grants, and you guys all have to get on the same, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Really frustrated.
you have to get on the same page as everyone else, and Brenda Perry, the assistant borough manager, finally said, wait a minute, I think everyone's participation in this meeting here tonight makes it clear, or today, makes it clear that we're all in support of this, like, we had our turn, it's their turn to go, so.
That's what I mean, they're waiting for us to
They're
finish
waiting-
this project
I-
before they put their hand out again. Not
No.
that they're waiting for us, but
No, I
yeah,
get
the MPO said that this project needs to be completed before anything else can go on the list for the MPO money, so it's kind of a must be completed, just a matter of when and how and who and with what. It was very frustrating when we were sitting there, I felt like I was in.
I mean, it didn't move an inch since the last meeting. I mean, they selected a consultant, but they gave them no direction. I mean,
That was my understanding from Mike. He said he was frustrated, as frustrated.
yeah, it went nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that did most of the talking acted like he didn't even know where Lingle Avenue was. It was, what's the problem? Has it ever flooded before? I mean, it was
comments like, this is not gonna fix the flooding, like 100%.
Yeah,
Like, we
are your
were well
residents
aware of that.
Yeah, are your
Just-
residents aware this isn't gonna fix the problem 100%, because they're still gonna call and complain, and
So moving back to the MS4 part, what I think I'm hearing is we want to get the list that we had previously.
I have it here, and it's the east plant that is noted for a project of the Kellinger over there.
And then the private residents, do we want to send out a letter to them of something?
well, we should get Ritu to review
out,
what ours is
right.
and see what our needs are beyond that.
Kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. The landowners better than we do, who we may have a better chance of success with, so that we can sort of prioritize those. If that's something you want us to work with staff on to take the first pass, or?
If we can figure out what we need, what we can get township-wise, what we own, yes.
Yeah.
And then, can you send me the list again that we had?
Yeah, it's this book.
Oh. Okay, I'll come in and look at it tomorrow. I know there's one landowner that I know, that I can talk to.
I think Kara has this already, because I think
I believe
with
so.
the
I mean,
MS4 that she did, she used
We'll
these
set up a
projects.
time to get together and
Yeah.
put our heads together and come up with some good recommendations for the board's consideration.
I know there's a couple that said no flat out already, but.
The problem is the permanent easement that gets recorded,
Right.
is pretty substantial.
I agree.
So we're okay to work with the two.
We need a MS4 project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want a motion?
Approval to use the.
Do you want a motion for that? Okay, I'll make a motion to work with Ritu to figure out an MS4 project to get us through this permitting cycle. or at least on the path.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to old business, South Londonderry Township Police EMR MOU. So, we have this in front of us tonight, Patrick, and I know you had some comments in an email previously.
Yes.
Do you have any of this integrated into this new, or into the one that we were given?
I do not, because some of them, some of the comments are, let's see. Some of the comments, I need additional information in order to supplement that MOU.
Okay,
Let's see if I have that email.
I've also reached out to the insurance company to find out, and she's gonna get back to me. She had to contact their underwriters,
okay.
so they.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a process.
Yeah, with respect to the insurance aspect of it, you want to make sure that there's no issues with respect to your, not only general liability, but workers' comp associated with the police officers performing whatever the specific services are. And I know it's referenced to EMR classification, but I think, I mean, for a layperson like myself, I'd like to know what the services are that we can specify in the MOU, rather than kind of like a blanket acknowledgement. And I'm not familiar enough with the subject content to know what to plug in. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would imagine it's laid out in what your
Yeah,
EMR
and actually,
certificate is.
and there's a specific act addressing it. And my recollection of looking at the act was that there are actual equipment requirements, and whether or not the MOU with Lon resolves the equipment requirements, I don't know that it does. I suspect that it might not. So that might also be something we'll have to figure out going forward. What else? There was the insurance comment. Just confirmation that it's completely voluntary on the part of the officers, and that all training and certifications are outside the scope of the job as a police officer. I mean, the comments that I set forth in that email are the main ones that are jumping out at me.
Okay,
And together with the draft, remember, you have the other draft MOU that you haven't, in resolution that you haven't adopted yet. We were waiting for, I think, comments back from the fire board on that, and that might interplay with this one a little bit as well. So we want to be sure we're not missing anything and everything is covered when and if we adopt something like this. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm. How are we moving this forward? Do we want to send this to the police? Is that what, or the ones that are,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Wanting
not
to-
sure who the driving force is from the police department, but, I mean, I
I'm
would
thinking
need.
Officer Zimmerman would be the best to answer some of these questions.
Okay,
Would that be fair to say, Nick? Yeah?
okay, then if the board wants me to kind of relay these comments and questions to Officer Zimmerman, or if you want the chief or I mean, you tell me.
It probably should go through the chief, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
I mean, why don't we blow down through the list here and find out what we care about and what we don't, like, instead of, you know what I mean? Like, some of
Okay.
these are similar, like, you know, the application to the EMS can be voluntary, like, we don't care, that's not, as far as I'm
No,
concerned.
those are the easy ones. The tough one, I think, is gonna be probably the last.
I just don't want this to turn into the MOU for the
Mm-hmm.
fire department response. Here we are another month,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Well, the fire department MOU, that's with the fire board, right?
And well, it's not gonna be here shortly.
Okay.
If I have my way, but that's the
All
next
right.
thing.
But, no, I think that last bullet point comment is, yeah, I think that's really the one that we're gonna need input from Officer Zimmerman. Kind of what exactly we're talking, what type of services we're talking about. Specific classification, services, certifications being referenced in the MOU and/or services thereunder.
See, and it's my feeling that that should be addressed in a policy with the chief, like what they're responding to and, like, I mean, that,
Or is this more based on what the requirements are to attain
I think it's a
the
combination.
certification?
I think it's a combination. You have an MOU that you're gonna enter into with Lon, allowing them to respond to certain calls while on duty as a police officer for South Londonderry Township. So you need to, and that MOU it's pretty general. It makes some references, but it doesn't get that specific. So if you're gonna enter into something about like that, you're gonna wanna know what it covers, right?
Well, I think it depends on their licensure. That's
Exactly.
what it goes back to.
Well, it
Because
does, and it's-
Zimmerman has a higher license than what I believe Jerry and or Scott will have, so.
Right, but also, right, it depends on what else is going on, right? I mean, essentially,
What takes precedence
Yeah.
in a call.
right.
I mean, I have no problem forwarding, I guess I could just forward my comments to the chief and have him reach out or sit down with Officer Zimmerman and see if they can get a response, at least to that last bullet point, with respect to a little bit more specifics to plug into the MOU.
I'm not in favor I can tell you, like, if we're gonna define like what types of calls they're gonna respond to and what services they're
That's
gonna
gonna be a
provide,
nightmare.
I'll be a no vote. I have no interest in regulating that. I mean, that is based on their availability, their licensure and skill set.
Yeah, I don't think the lawn people care what calls we go to. Because right now, if we think we can be of assistance, and generally any call, we can be, even if it's just, hey, can you help with this litter? So I think the main purpose of the MOU is so that when we do perform EMR duties, it's as sort of a subunit of lawn ambulance, because the guys who are certified will be, quote, lawn ambulance people and working as an arm of that entity.
I agree with Jack. I think we're trying to do some unique things here, both with the next item on the agenda and this one. And I think, yeah, I think, I don't know that it's gonna be totally comfortable, but I get you're giving us the best
Because we don't
advice
have a policy on
and that
on
you're,
response to ambulance calls.
Well, that's what I mean, these are notified of this isn't like counties calling them to respond, like, they're notified of every time the ambulance or fire turns a wheel. Whether they respond or not is completely.
And we have, right now, most of us have, first aid training to here, so we go and we don't act above that level. Well, the level's gonna be up here now, so we'll be able to act up to that level, the ones who are certification. I mean, I know there's still questions that Officer Zimmerman and possibly law and ambulance will need to answer for that.
so what are you proposing, Jack?
I guess I'm wondering, why can't this be simple as it is? Besides the fact that it needs to say in there that this is absolutely voluntary on the police department part. This is only if they want to get the certification and do that. And B, that,
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't I look at it again, talk to the chief, and see if we can dumb down that section? And Jenna's gonna reach out to the township's insurance carrier to make sure that there's no issues associated with it from a risk liability aspect. And then the other comments, I think I can implement those pretty easily. It's just,
I think that's just wording, voluntary.
right, it's that last comment that really was tripping me up a little bit, but if we can simplify that, and if Jenna can get a definitive response from the insurance carriers.
and as far as equipment went, I believe they have that donated. The equipment that they were going to carry in the cars. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, they received a
Donation to cover that.
donation to the association, which will be used to buy that.
Mhm.
And once they get that higher certification, they'll be certified to use certain equipment. And I don't think there's a mandate that you have that equipment.
when I looked at the act initially, I think there's a provision in there that if you're responding as, I don't know what the
If
title
you're running a
is.
queue, there was a
Maybe that's what it
requirement
was.
for equipment, but
Yeah.
this is something totally,
Yeah,
not
they're
totally
not-
different, but different. Different enough
Those are on
that it wasn't an actual queue. Because I just also saw that it was like a 4-page list. I think I sent it to the board of the requirements that will require the queue.
And we would, at that point, we would have a policy, it's kind of what I envision, that if you have that higher certification, if you're on patrol, you will have the equipment that you need to utilize those skills, just like, you know, Nick's out on patrol, I'm not gonna let him go out without his dog, because he's a certified canine guy, he needs to have the dog with him, so. Just like anything else that someone's certified, they're gonna have the necessary stuff with them.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question quick? You're not like trying to look to make a list of this is what you're allowed, like,
That's exactly what I don't want.
yeah, I was just gonna say, we don't even have that as police officers, like, we get dispatched to stuff. We don't get to pick and choose what is being given to us, so, you know, I think it's kind of like unrealistic to be able to say.
Hang on, let me pull my list out
Yeah.
and see if I can help you.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, we show
Right.
up at something if we have the skill and the licensing to be able to handle it, we do. If we
Right.
don't, we can legally do until somebody with better training and better equipment comes.
right,
And that's how I think the whole purpose of this is supposed to be, so,
yes,
I think we all agree.
yeah.
yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Connie?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I thought this was supposed to be an asset to help someone, you know, that, you know, someone else has special training. If they're there first and they can save a life, then they're gonna go ahead and move on because they have special training. So I'm not quite understanding the
I-
legality of it. Is this?
I think whenever you're trying to do something a little different, and I see this all the time in dealing with state governments, everything's siloed. Hey Pat, you know that, everything's siloed, and trying to cross those silos sometimes is difficult. I think that's why we're all up here going, yeah, we agree, and we're gonna make sure that happens.
Keep in mind, in your when you reach out to the insurance carrier, this might be some of their questions. Well, what are they gonna be doing? What are they gonna be doing? Are they gonna be doing trade out? What are they doing out there? And that's gonna be the question, because they're gonna be
Well, I work in
concerned.
commercial insurance and I know how it operates, and quite honestly, I mean, you know, they're looking at things to be a liability, if people
Oh,
have special
exactly.
training, if they have, it's like a doctor, okay? It's the same thing, so a doctor has to have insurance too.
Correct.
We'll let them.
And same
we'll let
thing
the
here, they have
insurance company respond to
qualifications.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna talk to chief.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the
Get this
majority of
done.
those comments I think are easily resolved by just some language playing, but the last comment, I think we can think through it to see if we can simplify it, and then you're gonna reach out and make sure you.
I already did, yeah, just waiting for all this.
Okay. We good with that one? Or at least we have it moving in a direction. Now we're back to the South Londonderry Township Emergency Call Response for Employees MOU. So the fire board has not had a quorum the last 2 times they've met, which they only meet every other month, so that puts us at a real disadvantage of getting this moving forward. But Jenna has reached out to both, well, to Campbelltown's chief and the questions that we had regarding membership, and
He had absolutely no concern.
it was just that was the last question we had, right, on that one?
That was my understanding, yes.
Yes.
That was at the August meeting that I wasn't at.
Mhm.
That was my understanding.
And Jack has spoken for the lawn.
Yeah, we have.
You have no issues with that?
Nope.
Yes.
Right, so how do we move forward without the fire board? That's what I.
We sent it to them, they haven't had a quorum, so, and the 2 entities that matter spoke, so I would motion that we approve to move forward with it, the resolution.
I would make a second on that. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Questions? All right, all those in favor? Go, Patrick has a question.
Well, it's been a while since I've looked at this. I'm looking at I'm assuming this was the last draft. There's a blank in there, so who are we, the fire department?
It could be,
Are we gonna plug in a specific name in there,
Lawn and Campbelltown and/or.
right? Because you're gonna
We
need,
need an
because remember,
agreement
what
with
goes
somebody.
along with this is an MOU with them, providing you with certificate of insurance that the
Right.
whoever the employees are covered under their carrier.
Yes, it's gonna be lawn in
In
Campbelltown.
Campbelltown, right?
And then if there's a member outside, they're going to make sure that
They would have to.
they are
Yep.
a member in good standing.
So lawn in Campbelltown, right?
Yep.
All right, I can make that. I can-
And the cardiac arrest is in
That's
here.
in, that's,
That was the
that's in
other.
there, so that was like the last one, so this must be the last version. Right, that was one of the last comments.
Yes. Any other questions? All right, so moving forward, do I have all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, what I'll do is I'll finalize that and circulate it for your next meeting. Okay?
Township non-uniform employee pension plan amendment. And I guess, do I have to have these separate? Yes, okay. Amendment 3, ordinance advertisement approval, defining compensation.
The
Jenna,
country had
thank you.
advised that the amendment number 3 also covers any new hires after January 1, 2020, so they're combined into one amendment. We need to get from RJ Hall the actual new pension plan ordinance itself, the one that outlines the defined contribution versus the defined benefit we currently offer. So I had a talk with Rob from RJ Hall today. He said to approve this, and then Patrick will get, or I'll get it from RJ Hall, the total new ordinance that has the defined benefit.
But this will cover the employees currently for this.
Yes, this
That are
will
currently
cover
here.
the earnings question that was, the gross earnings, and then this also stops any new hire from January 1 on, they will be rolled into the new
The new
defined benefit.
defined
Defined contribution.
contribution.
Okay.
Well, yeah, no, what this ordinance, this is for non-uniform. And what this ordinance will do, if you move forward with adopting, is it adopts this amendment, which changes the definition for earnings in the, what it's gonna do is what Jen was saying, January 1, 2020 moving forward, any new hire, any new non-uniform hires
Right,
will no longer be eligible for the defined benefit plan.
right.
Which means you now need, or you will need, a defined contribution plan, which we don't have yet. And if you recall, one of my comments to this was, well, why don't we title this the defined benefit and the other one defined contribution? And RJ Hall's response was, we don't have the defined contribution plan yet, it's actually named. So that's what we need from that.
Yes.
And once we get that plan, we can adopt a similar ordinance with that as an attachment as the new South Londonderry Township defined contribution plan. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But if the attachment to the ordinance, those are the changes, that's the change, that's it.
So if the attachment, okay, gotcha,
The ordinance authorizes you to move forward with the amendment.
gotcha.
And execute the amendment.
All right, so do I have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So I will we'll advertise this ordinance for your meeting in December, right?
Yes. So should we table
That's just
the next one
Right, we have to wait.
until we get it
Right.
from RJ Hall? Moving on to Township non-uniform employee pension plan. I have absolutely no more paperwork on here, or in my packet.
That's the part that we're tabling, the second.
Then
Oh, no, that's.
Is it-
never
The
mind.
soft freeze
Yeah,
approval?
when I talked to RJ Hall, and I didn't realize that Patrick had it all in one document, so we can disregard that.
Those are both, okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Well,
Yeah. Right?
No,
that's my understanding of what a soft freeze would be, right? A soft freeze is basically saying no more employees can jump on your plan.
right.
But that's what that amendment number 3 is doing in the
Right,
second
and I didn't
part.
realize that, I thought it was.
I'm
just-
assuming that's what soft freeze means.
That's what I thought it meant, but they would,
So all RJ Hall wanted us to do was approve that freeze today, and you're doing that by approving that ordinance amendment number 3. to
Which will
done by
be
the end of the year.
officially in December,
Correct,
after being advertised.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're talking about, if you want to entertain a motion implementing that freeze today in the assumption that you might have a new employee between now
No, we
and
wouldn't,
December.
we wouldn't be hiring an employee. We would
Okay.
be- Other than a meeting.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, that's true.
I just don't feel like we have 100% of the information.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. So we'll remove that one, or table that one also. Or it's actually above, but anyways, okay. Lingle Avenue update, we already talked about all that. Does anybody have any questions about Lingle Avenue? Besides that, it floods and we're all annoyed with it. Okay. Fire study, I don't have anything from John yet.
I do have something quick on the Lingle Avenue, and maybe, I don't know, maybe Scott and even the chief. Could we encourage PennDOT maintenance to communicate the closing? Like, the school district has no idea, as far as I know, we have no idea.
I think North Londonderry touched base with PennDOT and made them aware of that problem, that we're not being told that it's getting closed, and.
And then there's times where it's high and dry and the signs are still up.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that they're gonna try to do a better job of that.
So how is the school determining, did you get to
They
talk to?
drive, Bux's
They
drives out
drive.
there at 5:30 in the morning and looks and says if the signs are up or not. And then the school district puts the chain down.
I believe they're gonna be calling county to tell them about that. I don't think it was you, I think it was there.
I thought you meant the last time it flooded and they were out going for a swim.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be contacting EMA and letting them know, which is kind of our protocol too, whenever a road is closed.
Yeah.
So they know for emergency response.
Okay.
So, no.
Anything else on that?
I actually wish they would install like swinging gates on both sides of the roads until they do something different, because those barricades, every time they're put up, we had to go out and rescue somebody the last time it was there because they drove around it and flooded the car out, and we had to go out in a fire truck to get them out. It was-
Well, and those signs sound great, the flip signs, except for the fact
don't
that
flip 'em.
they don't flip them or they leave them down and then
Yeah,
no
those-
one even
they're
looks
never
at them
touched.
anymore.
The only
Yeah.
time those have been moved is when we would do it for them. They'll come out and put the barricades and this road closed sign up, but most people either push the barrels out of their way or they just drive into the grass around the field or around the barricade and then go in through the water.
Well, part of it too, people driving around is they don't take them down, and then you look and the road's dry. It's like,
Yes. Okay, moving on. Good and welfare. Does anybody have anything? Yes, Connie?
Question here. So the budget,
Yes.
was handed out. How do I get a copy of that?
I believe it's on the web. If
Yeah.
I was
I
check-
can email it to you, or you can come pick up a copy.
We have a meeting on Thursday
Right, and I was
at
just wondering, is
9.
it updated, because I think there were some things missing, or,
It'll be updated for the day of the meeting, yes. There'll be
so if I
copies
got a copy
available.
right now, it would be,
It would not be 100% ready for the Thursday meeting, no. I still have some numbers trickling in.
Did you get last budget meeting?
No.
Because that changed from
well, I
the
know it's
previous
been
budget.
changing, but
Mhm.
I went to look at it. But I would have questions then, but if I don't have all the updates, it's not gonna, and then I'd have to wait to speak when.
It'll
'Cause if
be
it's only-
at our
it's not even
December
updated
meeting.
now,
Well, if we
so it's
update
only
it
updated
Thursday, and if it's ready to go, or we feel that it's ready to go, then we'll put it up for advertisement, and then we'll hopefully approve it at the December regular meeting.
Right, so if it's a workshop, I would wanna ask questions at that workshop. But if
Mhm.
it's not
You
all-
can still ask questions at the December
if it's
meeting.
not all together.
Well, hopefully by Thursday it'll be all together. Before we advertise it, it will definitely be all together. We're not gonna advertise it and then change it, but we could still make
I'm not gonna be able to look over it
tweaks on,
that quickly at a meeting. I mean, if there, I don't know how much stuff has to be added.
we were fairly close at our last meeting. We just had some
Yeah.
things changing, so if you got the budget
You
from
don't
the
have to-
last meeting, you'd be fairly close to what it is, or what it will be.
Well, if I could get it.
There's a workshop, another workshop meeting
yeah,
in between there.
That's what I was wondering.
Thursday is, we have a special meeting, Thursday morning, and yes, there's another workshop.
I guess it would be in between.
It'd be scheduled for advertising.
We're hoping,
In between the budget.
we do, but we're hoping to not do that because then we'd like to approve it at the December meeting. If not, then we'll be meeting, I think it was, what did we figure out? The day before
Day
Christmas
before
Eve?
Christmas, yeah.
And we'd prefer not to do that, so. Yes, anyone can still ask questions,
If you
and
could email, I'll give you my email.
you can still tweak it at the December meeting as long as it's not more than,
A substantial change.
yes.
There's
There's
no room
regulations on
right
that.
now to be able to put that on the website because you're having problems, is that?
It's not it's not the advertised product right now.
After Thursday, when we have it ready to
We
go,
have
it
to
will be.
advertise, right.
Anything else? Yes, Doc?
Question, have you started interviews for the police secretary position?
No, but I'm going to be made aware of when those are so I can sit down on them.
Awesome, okay.
I think we were looking at scheduling them as far as I'm, yes, Jenna, Bill, we're looking at scheduling, so. Yep. Anything else? All right, so our next budget workshop is December 14th at 9 a.m. Regular supervisor meeting will be December 10th, and a potential another workshop on November 26th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending. Yes,
Just to make sure, you're probably going to be passing your preliminary budget Thursday?
yes,
Okay.
yep.